Well, what's going on, guys? Tyler here from T-Rod Outdoors, and on this edition of Tackle Tuesday, we're going to be talking all about soft plastic stick baits. So I got a couple here. I got some Senkos, some trick worms, some finesse style worms like these two, and then a curly-tailed worm. In this instance, I have a Mondo worm. So we're just going to go through and just going to talk about all the soft plastic stick baits that I use and when I think it's appropriate to use each one, and kind of tell you how I like to use it. So I guess starting off, we'll go with the classic Senko. As you can see, got my Senko box right out of the boat here, and got a couple different colors in here. Got green pumpkin, watermelon red flake, black and blue. I believe this one's called motor oil. Got June bug. I don't know the other two colors, but one's like a red, black, and yellow, and one's like a pink. Here's that red, black, and yellow one. Here's the pink one that I don't know the color of. But soft plastic stick baits is what these are considered. These are all 5-inch Senkos. How I would like to throw these, let's see, the best way that I throw them, there's two main ways I guess you could throw them. You could throw them Texas rigged, or you could throw them wacky rigged. I don't really Texas rig them a whole lot. If I'm going to be Texas rigging, I'll flip like a crawl or creature style bait, and when I'm on the river. When I'm in ponds, I'll sometimes Texas rig a worm, but for the majority of the time when I'm on the boat on the river, I'm going to be wacky rigging a worm like this, like a 5-inch stick bait Senko. Trying to think. That's really the only two ways to rig it. When the going gets tough, this is a big confidence bait for me. Like if I'm struggling that day, or if I don't think that the bite is on as good as it should be, I'll throw on this with a wacky rig. Probably watermelon red flake or just classic green pumpkin is going to be my go-to colors. As you can see, the top is just green pumpkin with some black flake, and then the bottom one is watermelon red flake. It's basically the same thing, so I keep them together in the same compartment. If the water is really dirty, I like these black and blue, black with blue flake Senkos with the blue tip. Makes it easier to see when it's down in the water. You can really see the tip, how it moves around when you're wacky rigging it. And then on very sunny conditions, I like this motor oil color. It is like greenish brown on one side with like an orange flake, and the sun seems to really hit that orange flake and cause it to shimmer a lot in the water, drawing in those bass. But like I said, wacky rig is probably what I use 9 times out of 10 if I'm throwing just a stick bait like this. But occasionally, I guess you could say, I would throw them on a, I go on a worm hook. I go 3/0 worm hook, straight shank worm hook, and normally when I'm throwing a Senko, I go weightless. That's just personal preference. You can do as you please, but that's what works for me. I guess next we'll talk about trick worms. So trick worms are a little bit different than the 5-inch Senko. Over here I have a Slim Shake worm, and as you can see, if you're not familiar with a trick worm, it has a normal stick style bait up top, and then it gets a really thin in the middle, and then back to the same size as the top for the tail. And what that does is that tail, since it's so thin in here, that tail is going to be wiggling around a ton when it's underwater. And my personal favorite way to rig these is probably on a shaky head. I'd probably say 75% of the time, if I'm going to be throwing a trick worm, I will throw it on a shaky head, and with the other exception being I'll Texas rig it. When I'm throwing a trick worm, I will peg a weight with it, like a 1/4 ounce or 1/8 of an ounce, just really lightweight. I want to let the tail do the work. I don't want the weight, like having it not be as effective down there. If I throw like a 1 ounce weight on it, it's just going to sink right to the bottom, and it'll be the same purpose as a shaky head. So I like to keep the weights very light when I'm Texas rigging these and let the worm do the work for me. So I got a couple different colors. These are the only Slim Shakes that I have in here is natural, which is green pumpkin up top, and then like a cream on the back. And then the other Slim Shake I have is just classic green pumpkin black flake. The other styles I have a plasma tail. These are extremely thin right in here, but these work really good for Texas rig. Texas rig, these and the Zoom trick worms are probably my go-to for a Texas rig. Shaky head, I'll throw the Googan Baits one a lot. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I guess you could wacky rig these too. I'm not too much of a fan of wacky rigging them, only because if I'm going to be throwing a wacky rig, I'll throw just a regular 5-inch stick bait, but I'm sure this would do just as good, if not maybe a little better, just because of the trick worm. There's more material on the tail. If I'm going to be Neko rigging, which is putting a nail weight in the tail of a wacky rig, I would probably throw one of these trick worms and put it on the thicker part of the tail, not towards the head, but towards the tail, just to get it to fall quicker on the tail. So my wife, she 9 times out of 10, when my wife's on the boat, she'll be throwing this trick worm right here for one reason only: it has purple in it. Forget what Zoom calls this color. I think it's just smoked purple or something like that. But it's a good color, but she just likes to throw it because it's purple and that's her favorite color. So that's what she likes to throw, even though she won't take any of my advice and throw something else. Let's see. You also got worms that are more finesse style worms. Like you can throw a ringworm. This is watermelon red flake ringworm, and it just has all these ribs that gives off different vibration and movement in the water. These are great for wacky rigging, or if you're going to be throwing a drop shot, these are excellent for that, these rib style baits. As well as this big bite baits, by the way. Got these in a mystery tackle box. Had the chance to try these out, just got them in a mystery tackle box as well. These are the Castaic soft baits, green pumpkin. And for me, looking at this right away, I'm thinking drop shot. Maybe cut like maybe an inch off and have it as a drop shot, or wacky rig would be really good for this one. But those are the two ways that I would rig a finesse style like this: just wacky or wacky, Neko, or drop shot. So I guess there's 3. And the last style of stick bait style worms we're going to be talking is a Mondo worm. This is more or less just a curly-tailed worm. And I really like to throw these in the summer. Those big bass like big baits. So this is a 10-inch worm. Package. This is a 10-inch worm. Get rid of this extra plastic that they have holding it together. 10-inch worm, and I would definitely throw this on a Texas rig setup with a probably if it's windy, I'd probably throw it on a 3/8 style weight on the river. But if it's nice and calm that day, I'll probably go a 1/4. I wouldn't go down to an 1/8. I'd probably stick with a 1/4 for the river since there's current. What this does, as it goes to the bottom, this tail, this curly tail, is going to twist all the way down and give it a falling action in the water. And that's going to trigger those big bites. Big bass love a big worm. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. But that is how I would throw it. when I throw a big worm like this, it's going to be Texas rigged. Trying to think. I don't really have any other soft plastic stick baits. I guess you could consider a Ned rig a stick bait, but there's only one way I rig those, and that's on a Ned style hook. But yeah, so get that all put away. But thank you guys for watching this episode of T-Rod Outdoors, and stay tuned for next week when we're talking all about soft plastic swim baits. Catch you guys then.